you guys doing? Ready? Okay.
Hersom Acorn Newspapers, publishers of the Greenwich Post, New Canaan Advertiser, the Darien Times, the Ridgefield Press, the Weston Forum, the Wilton Bulletin, the Reading Pilot, the Lewisboro Ledger, the Monroe Courier, the Eastern Courier, the Trumbull Times, Fairfield Sun, Shelton Herald, the Stratford Star, the Milford Mirror, and the Valley Gazette.
Hersom Acorn and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
A little past 2 o'clock on HANradio.com and streaming live along the Hersom Acorn Network. It's Nutmeg Sports for a Wednesday hump day. With Paul Silverfarb, I'm Rob Adams, and happy to have you along. 203-442-9055 would be your fancy number to dial to talk a little SPORTS as we get going for a Wednesday. Paul, good afternoon, and how are you today?
Not bad, thank you. Yourself?
I'm well. You're coming off watching a 1-0 game yesterday?
Yeah, 1-0 game yesterday.
1-0 baseball.
Good game.
Good game?
Good game. Just a lot of base running. And
that's all you got for me is
well, yeah, I mean, at the bottom, and I understand what the coach's reason was. But bottom of the ninth, you're down by 1-0. It's a pitcher's duel. You get a single with a guy on base.
Right.
Got to go to third.
Right.
And he said he didn't want the play to end at third. The game to end at third. And I get that.
Right.
And the game I'm going to talk about is St. Joe's at
Jonathan Law.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I get where he's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense to me, but it was a lazy fly ball that dropped behind the first baseman in front of the right fielder with the second baseman coming on kind of thing. You have 2 outs. You start running when that ball is hit.
Right.
You're a third standing up.
Right.
And then they got to hit the next batter, which would have drove home the game-tying run. Instead, the bases were loaded, and then they get out of the inning, and that's the ballgame.
That's it.
So, yeah, I understand where he's coming from, but sorry. Got to go to third. No questions asked, especially with a lazy ball like that. Take off and run. Well, that was a good game.
Yeah.
Couple interesting plays. Well, there was a guy for St. Joe's that was on first and third with 2 outs, and I understand where Coach Chavez was coming from this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have actually done it. I might have agreed with them on this one. They tried to lay down a bunt, couldn't do it. And they got picked off first base, gets picked off first, does the little dance, and then the guy comes home and he's tagged out. End of the inning. But they were only getting like 2 hits. I think they only had like 2 or 3 hits that up to that point, or maybe 2. So at that point, it's kind of like, go for it at that point.
I always like a good tense 1-0 game, which reminds me of Game 5 of the 1996 World Series, in fact. It was a good tense 1-0 game.
Yeah, it was. Jeez.
As Andy Pettit outdueled John Smoltz with a little help from Rivera and Wetland.
Yeah.
A little too exciting there. My heart was beating pretty good that night. And do you remember how the 1 run scored in that game?
I don't remember much of that game just because I was panic-stricken the entire time.
It was a drop ball in center field.
That's right.
Yep. Marquise Griffin.
Yep.
Went back to play in center field, dropped the ball.
Shot the ball.
Yep.
Memories.
Which reminds me of some memories. Speaking of which, with the announcement that Bernie Williams will finally, took him a little while to get official on it, but he is officially announcing his retirement this week. I still don't think his number should be retired. That's neither here nor there.
It will.
It's going to be.
If you retire Paul O'Neill's, you bet.
But they're not retiring O'Neill's. They're retiring Bernie and they're retiring
that's right.
Posada, and it's out of hand. But anyway, not that I don't love me some Bernie. Does it sound like I'm queuing up a highlight?
No, by that nice grin on your face, I'm going to say yes.
So many to pick from. Maybe I'll pick a Met highlight. No. I played this one a little earlier, and I played it with Bob Costas on the call. But you Yankee fans know what you want to hear.
Ugh.
The pitch.
Myers deals, swung on and driven to deep left. It is high, it is far, and it's gone. Yankees win. The Yankees win. Bernie Williams homers deep in the left field seats to lead off the 11th inning on a 1-1 pitch. Burn, baby, burn. He's done it again.
And there is the birth of Burn, Baby, Burn.
And it's nice to know that it was 9 years now. He really hasn't lost a step.
By the way, do we need a reminder of exactly why Bernie led off the 11th inning with that home run?
Sure, I can always use a flashback.
How about this?
Pitch is a high fly ball to right deep. Going back is Tarasco to the warning track. To the wall. He's under it now. And it's taken away from him by a fan. And they're going to call it a home run. I can't believe it. Richie Garcia is calling it a home run. And Tarasco is out to argue. A terrible call by Richie Garcia. It's all tied up.
That was a terrible call. It was a terrible call. Anyway, such good memories. We could do an hour show just on that alone, on all those kinds of things.
Yep.
But we won't. We've got some good guests coming up during the show today. We've got Dave Stewart later on from the New Canaan Advertiser, FCAC.net, as well as Jeff Brameyer, the head lacrosse coach at Darien High School. And right off the bat, speaking of going back in time, was one of my very first interns, believe it or not.
Nice.
Young man who I met, I'm willing to bet he was probably about 13, 14 when I met him. He and his dad, and said he wanted to intern at WGCH and came on board, did a remarkable job, has the skills to stay in this business if he wants, and he has, although behind the microphone in a lot of ways, and a dear friend as well. Matt Hamilton is with us. Matt, how are you?
I'm great. It's great to be back with you.
See,
Love the new studio.
I don't even have to explain how to put a microphone in front of you or how to do any of this stuff. You're like an old pro.
I mean, it's not that hard.
You'd be surprised.
I was going to say you'd be stunned.
I mean, we think about everything since, the good old days at GCH and all the things we did back then. There's pictures of you and I hanging out at the Carrier Dome. What a great day we had up there. It was a terrible game, if you recall. It was Ryan Shenango Forks in state championship. Was it
something?
I don't even think Rye ever got a touchdown. I thought it was 48-0, but you may be right. But pictures of us on the field and all that stuff back in the day, and the great times we had covering all those games, the championships, and the ways that we banged our heads on the wall with some of those games back in the day. But then you graduate, you go on to Mizzou, and now here you are working in production at NFL Films. I mean, what a remarkable ride. And you are a Greenwich guy, and that's really the local connection here. So catch people up on where you've been.
Well, I've spent the past 4 years working at NFL Films as a production assistant with the show Playbook on NFL Network. And basically what that entails is just watching coaching tape all day and breaking down film and analyzing it for our on-air talent, as well as cutting all the pieces, all the coaching tape-related pieces that they talk about on the air. If you've ever seen our show, it's we have a lot of graphics over coaching tape and helping the talent illustrate their points. And also in between, I spent time as a scouting intern with the Detroit Lions during training camp in 2013, and so.
No, and you've done a lot, and we've talked about things off the air. Some, obviously, a lot of which we're not going to share. But you've even told me about guys that, for instance, you would say to me, and I remember this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you saying to me, for everyone who gets on Joe Theismann, Joe's been great to me. For instance, you always had a kind word about Joe Theismann, who was a fairly controversial figure on at least the TV side of the microphone.
Yeah, Joe always was great to us. He was our on-air talent my first year, and he was always very generous, always would bring us lunch, always friendly. He was a great guy.
Yeah, and it's so funny because he got such a bad rap, and at least in terms of even critics like myself.
Right.
So
He has a bad rap, so it's kind of refreshing to hear this, actually.
yeah, isn't it nice to hear good things?
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, I think some of that maybe got back to him and caused a little bit of change in him. And but honestly, I don't have a single bad word to say about him. He was nothing but professional and awesome my whole time.
It's got to be such a remarkable thing to go down to NFL Films. We were talking about it earlier in the day. John Kovac and I were talking and saying how we would both love to walk the halls, down there and to feel now the presence of the Sable family and all. Tell us about the experience of working there.
I mean, first of all, you're more than welcome to come down whenever you want.
Okay, I like that.
But it really is. I mean, I grew up watching all the NFL film stuff on ESPN2 late at nights. They used to show all the old games and all the old NFL Films presents. So, I was very aware of the history going in. What a big football fan I always was growing up. And, you feel that every time you walk into the building. They got the Emmys all over, all 116
many
Emmys or whatever it is now that they've won. They're all around the building. Ed Sable's Hall of Fame bust is up. You feel it. They have pictures taken from all the film shots all over the building. It's a special place. It really is. And every time you walk in there, you really do feel it. And, no matter how stressful things can get sometimes, I always try to take a second every day to appreciate the fact that I get to work there and, get to be a part of that tradition.
It's too bad the way things work out because I would love to just step into the elevator, for instance, and have the elevator be taking you up and hear John Facenda go, second floor.
I can see that happening, but
Facenda sadly has been gone about 30 years now.
Yeah, he's been gone a while.
And he was nothing more than, he was prominent in Philadelphia, but he was a Philadelphia news anchor, John Facenda, the voice of NFL Films for many years. And I think many would say John Facenda, Bob Shepard toss-up as to who is the voice of God because both of them just had incredible pipes. You hear Facenda's voice and you think NFL Films. You hear him say, Lombardi, although he never said the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. That is a complete myth.
Really?
Never said it.
Very surprising.
Yep. That's like the myth of Cooperstown. There's the myth of Facenda saying the frozen tundra.
Well, we all found out that Cooperstown is the official home of baseball, right?
The autumn wind is a raider. I love Facenda. Oh, God, it's so great. So great. But, yeah, tell me about what it's like to walk around there. What is it really? You get to NFL Films. Is there, Paul and I can visit. Can we go visit a library of footage, or what would a person see if they came to NFL Films?
Yeah, we do have a library of all the old footage, and I've gone in on weekends and pulled some of that stuff out just to watch it because there's so much great stuff there. And what Ed and Steve Sable did was just phenomenal. They produced so much content over the years, and there's so much stuff. And going back to games from even, they have some games from the 40s that they even got their hands on. Obviously it wasn't NFL Films produced, but they have some stuff going back that far.
Right, because NFL Films I think started 62.
I believe so. Yeah.
Right?
I think 62.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Started by Ed Sable and basically started by the pennies in his pocket, more or less.
Yep.
It was very grassroots because nobody had done such a thing up until that time. And I'm not doing Facenda's voice justice, so we've got to hear it.
And by the way, it is 1962.
The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache.
Oh, my God. That's so great.
That is wonderful.
That really is.
That's the voice right there. And anybody else who's come along since then, there are good voices. Harry Callis and some others did it for many years, but nobody could match the pipes of John Facenda. and what he could offer. And what NFL Films did, in my mind, was help build the history of the league.
Absolutely, and it created that mystique about the NFL that still carries on today.
Yeah, where baseball's got its history built in. No sport's got it like baseball. But sure. MLB has never matched NFL Films for what they... And no other sport has, by the way.
It's come close with This Week in Baseball, because I remember watching that vividly growing up. Seeing the This Week in Baseball and hearing the opening of that song or the jingle and 30 minutes of highlights and fun and whatever you call it. But you're right, it pales in comparison to NFL Films and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it's amazing to see the process start to finish with some of the stuff too, because the anticipation and foresight it takes to get some of those shots. A lot of those games we have 2 ground cameras at the game.
Yeah.
And they're able to get those shots with the ball, the ball coming right at the camera, seemingly floating forever. Those shots, like, they have to anticipate that, and there's 2 of them. It's not like we have cameras all over the place.
Right.
These cameramen are some of the most talented guys, and the music. They have a whole music studio.
Oh, Sam Spence and the other guys who produced music for NFL Films. What I just played you was a piece off a CD that I actually own. The Power and the Glory.
Yep.
Phenomenal music, and he wasn't the only one. There were others, but all this legendary music, we've used it. We used to use it on one of my shows when we would do our NFL picks because it just sounded so good. You wanted to run through a wall. You wanted to hit something.
Just curiosity, on an average Monday Night Football game, how many cameras are there?
I mean, for NFL Films wise, we usually have
just NFL
for
Films.
NFL Films, we usually have 2 ground cameras. Like the big games, we'll have a couple of ground cameras, a sound camera. We'll probably have somebody wired, and then there's that Top Shot camera as well.
Right.
For the playoff games, they usually have 2 people wired, so there's an ISO camera on both of them.
Right.
You get multiple ground cameras. The playoff games in the Super Bowl are really where they go all out.
Right. I was going to say, how many are in the Super Bowl?
It's got to be 20 something.
Yeah. I can imagine. I mean, just the thought of it.
And those shots are so incredible, and that's one of the fun things. Just going through all the shots we get, and some of the stuff that doesn't even make air sometimes is phenomenal.
That's the legacy of beginning with Ed Sable and then Steve Sable, who took it and went to a whole new level, because Steve was basically a cameraman for his father to start, but he also was innovative and would start wearing cameras to walk around. They'd have these multiple cameras from NFL Films, and then he started miking people who didn't want to be mic'd necessarily. Hank Stram didn't really want to be mic'd for Super Bowl IV, and yet Hank became a Hall of Famer actually off of that.
Sure.
Because he coached a great game. They beat the tar out of the Vikings that day. But that really was Hank's claim to fame because of 65 toss power trap and running up and down the sideline. Attaboy, Lenny, keep matriculating the ball down the field, boys. I mean, it's great stuff.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like they protect the people they wire as well, and I think that's what's allowed them to continue doing this and with such success is, when you let NFL Films mic you, they're gonna have your back too. They're not gonna let because there's a lot of stuff that goes on during the heat of battle.
Oh, I was gonna imagine. I could just imagine what the complete unedited version of one of those tapes would be like.
I mean, if you could hear Rex Ryan's wires unedited, everybody would be a Rex Ryan fan. It's
awesome.
Some of my favorite stuff. It really is incredible.
Even the sound they got of Lombardi, everyone's grabbing out there, nobody's tackling. Even that footage of Lombardi is priceless. And the great Abe Gibron, if you've ever seen him, he was a coach for the Bears at one point, and he's singing, "Joy to the World."
Right.
And he's just walking on. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Go look all this stuff up. Yeah. It's all NFL Films.
Right.
And the classic Singletary clip as well.
That's right.
That was actually directed at Sterling Sharp. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Sterling. Sterling is one of the host on our show.
Yeah.
So he was telling us Sterling was just giving him crap all game, and he got him one time, and he started saying that. But the way Sterling tells it, he was dominating the game. So Singletary was just trying to get something started, but he couldn't stop Sterling.
What about the experience with the Detroit Lions?
That was pretty eye opening. It really was. It was it's a class organization. First of all, they treated me so well during my time there, and it was great. I got to evaluate the quarterbacks and linebackers during camp. So I was at all the practices. I was watching film with the scouts and the front office staff. Their director of pro personnel, Sheldon White, who's phenomenal and, in my opinion, should have been up for a GM job this year with the incredible job he did in Detroit.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just going to be at practice every day, seeing how these guys practice, the intensity level, how business-like it is, and sitting in some of I was lucky enough to sit in some of their position meetings too, and the way they coach things, and the difference between I had worked at Missouri as a student coach, and
I remember
the difference in how much more complex it is at the NFL level is pretty astounding.
Matt sending me pictures when he was at Mizzou as, on the sideline. Look, Rob, here I am, and great shots of him on TV and everything.
Nice.
Oh, it was great. That was great stuff.
Just want to give you the heads up. We got 2 cancellations or postponements.
Oh, please do.
The Greenwich, Staples, both the baseball and softball games have been postponed. Looks like baseball is tomorrow, and softball is going to be played next week, this courtesy of Ryan Lacey.
Okay.
So thank you, Ryan.
Well, we do have thunderstorms coming in this afternoon. So, yeah, I mean, I could see where games are going to get messed with, but boy.
But, I mean, let me tell you, the end of the season is going to be a sprint.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be wild.
I mean, we were talking to – did you hear Tom Yancey yesterday at all?
I heard some of them, yeah.
I mean, he was saying that they've only played 2 or 3 games up north. So he's like, and people are, the fields are just, even though it was sunny and it was, 60 outside or 65, the fields were just in such bad shape they couldn't get them going. And one drop of rain at that point is going to postpone a game. And he's telling me that half the teams in the CCC were, they've played 2 games, maybe.
Yeah.
Some teams are, they were looking to play a couple games next week, a couple of games the following week. Then those makeup games have been now rained out. He's like, and he said that it was going to be a big advantage to the teams down here because while teams here have played 6-7 games and they're a little more rested, you're going to have teams up north that are throwing pitchers out every 20 seconds pretty much the last 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
So weather is going to play a factor. Maybe not now, but let's see what happens come June.
We'll take a break here on Nutmeg Sports. We still have Jeff Braymeyer and Dave Stewart to talk to as we roll through a Wednesday edition of Nutmeg Sports. Matt Hamilton sticking around with us with Paul Silverfarb. I'm Rob Adams. We're out for a break. We continue right after this on HANradio.com and streaming live along the Hersom Acorn Network.
Want a new experience in car buying? Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram with one of the largest inventories of new 2- and 4-door Wranglers. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Browse our websites, scapchryslerjeep.com or scapdodge.net to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck you've been looking for. Just 2 miles from both I-95 or the Merritt Parkway exit 44. Save thousands at the award season event, now through April 30th. Want a new experience?
Breaks, sprains, injuries, and pain can now be quickly and expertly treated at Coastal Ortho Express in Norwalk. Why wait hours in the ER? Save a trip and save money going straight to an orthopedic specialist at Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, 203-845-2070. No appointment necessary. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or call 203-845-2070. Fast!
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332 and online at stratfordsmile.com.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
Yeah, hey, this is John Ratzberger. You're listening to HANradio.com.
Back on Nutmeg Sports at 226. Rob Adams, Paul Silverfard, Matt Hamilton with you. And 203-442-9055 is the number. Sports is a dirty, difficult business. The Oklahoma City Thunder have fired their head coach, Scott Brooks, who took Oklahoma City to 3 conference finals and an NBA finals as well. It's a nasty business we work in, Matt.
It really is, especially given, Kevin Durant missing the majority of the season. It's hard to really put a lot of blame on the coaching staff, but I guess they feel it was time for a change. They had that appearance in the NBA Finals, and they haven't been able to get back since.
Right.
It's sometimes you're just looking for a change, looking to shake things up.
Well, there's rumblings about Eric Spoelstra.
I can see that too.
Yeah. But still, give the guy a break.
Well, he also lost a big chunk of his talent, but...
Oh, yeah, that's a no-brainer, but still, you should earn enough credit with your fans and with the community that maybe one season you kind of not get the free pass, but you get people to kind of for a little bit. Yeah. You don't go all in with the fire Eric, right after the season. Guys, look up at the band, look up at the rafters,
Exactly, and that horrific... trade deadline deal for Goran Dragic, giving up 2 lottery picks for a rental of Goran Dragic.
That was
brutal.
that was not one of their 5 points.
With all the national things that Matt has done, he's also stayed very close to his roots here in Greenwich. He has been a baseball coach as well as a football coach on the Greenwich High staff, and you've made sure to keep it local and keep it back here in Greenwich.
Yeah, I try to do as much as I can around town. I've coached Senior Babe Ruth now for... I missed a few years in there, but I started when I was 18, so 10 years now. And, we're about to start for our the Red Men in Greenwich are going for their 4th straight town championship. And actually, if anybody's interested, tryouts for 16-year-olds for new players are this Sunday at 11 o'clock at Havemeyer Field in Greenwich. Always looking for new guys.
You kind of always forget that the spring season goes by so fast that people need to start figuring out Legion, Senior Babe, all the stuff like that, because before you know it, you're going to be playing your first games.
Exactly.
When do they start up pretty much right after the season's over in spring athletics, and some of them actually start earlier.
Yeah, we start the varsity season's usually still going on when we start.
Yeah, I think the same with the Legion too.
And we have some varsity players, so they join our team a little bit later.
Right.
But it's a great league. We play Stamford now. We play Darien. We play New Canaan. And then the All-Star tournament's a lot of fun. We went up to East Lyme last year, which was a pretty brutal trip, and we had a 3rd place finish, which was our...
Thank you. That's where I saw you.
Yes.
That's where I saw you. East Lyme, home of the press box that A was not open and the concession stand that was not open.
I remember you taking that trip. That was not a pleasant trip for you.
It was not a fun trip, and all I wanted was a dark drink of water, and the concession stand locked. The public address system, non-existent. But yet you go across the field, the softball field, they had everything going on there. I'm like, wow. You had 2 teams at Newtown, right?
Yep. We played.
Newtown and Greenwich at East Lyme, and you can't open the concession stand.
Yeah.
I know.
Or open the press box. Not that it was beautiful outside, so I really, under the shade, it was nice, so I didn't mind sitting down in my lawn chair, but,
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
And that was a tough trip. That's a long trip.
That is a long trip.
Yeah, but long trip was Syracuse.
Yes.
But
we were going back every single day.
Yeah,
we
that's
had to go
true.
back and forth every single day.
That's true. Although we were covering kind of the Rye Harrison, Port Chester teams. If they made any kind of run, GCH would have us follow them. And I was able to convince management at that time that we'll go and we'll do it in a day. And my analyst, Tom Kane, and I, along with Matt, climbed into we had a van back then, and the 3 of us up to the Carrier Dome in the morning with the snow falling started back.
Yeah, that was a
long
rough
day,
trip, especially after that brutal game.
That was a brutal game. But hey, those are the experiences that we love, and we were able to get up into the booth, and I know you were a big Syracuse guy back then.
Yeah, my cousin went there, and that was the as local a team as I had to root for, and so it was a pretty special experience to be on the field of the Carrier Dome, and even still, the Carrier Dome is a pretty terrific place.
Yeah, it is, and you've been at some pretty terrific places.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky, getting to go to Oklahoma and places like that.
Yeah,
I've been very, very lucky.
How much have you been able to keep up on what goes on around here? Obviously, you were once a part of the Greenwich High football staff. There have been some changes there. John Marinelli's now the head coach. How close are you able to keep an eye on things like that?
I mean, I keep in touch with people around the program. I'm very happy for
present company included.
I was very happy to see Tony Morello, one of my friends, going back to high school.
That's Big Tone.
Yeah, Big Tone got the offensive line coach job, so I was very happy to see that, and I'm happy to hear that some of the guys are sticking around. It's a tough situation. Anytime you're dealing with that type of turnover, especially with a coach that's had as much success as Coach Al's had.
Yeah.
It's a very tough situation, and it's time will tell if it's the right decision for the program. But Greenwich will always have my heart, and I'll always be there to support them no matter where I am.
As a guy who went to Greenwich, does it bother you that it's a New Canaan guy coming in?
I mean, honestly, not really. I mean, but it puts a little more pressure on him, I think, to get the job done. Because if he doesn't come in and get the job done right away and turn this around and have a 9 or 10 win season, I think you're going to start to hear a lot of rumblings.
That's true.
But from everything I know about John, he's a brilliant guy. He's on the cutting edge of everything, offensively, and I think he'll do a great job there.
Yeah, I like John a lot. A nice guy. Came on the show with us last week, and certainly an emotional guy. But then again, so was Coach Al.
Yeah.
So can't argue that. Just a reminder, folks, you can watch the show at hanradio.com/live stream. And if the audio is behind the video, just click on the live button below the video stream, and it will all sync up for you. I have to remember to remind folks of that every now and then.
Nice.
We're good about these things.
We're very good at those things.
We're okay here.
Yeah,
we're not Wall Street guys. We didn't sell popcorn and peanuts at Yankee Stadium.
No.
I'm just saying. Matt's having a laugh, and so are we all. It is 2:33 here on Nutmeg Sports on a Wednesday afternoon. Beautiful day right now, but again, as we're seeing some cancellations, postponements beginning to come in, and it's just going to make things so much crazier.
Let's see if we have any more. New Milford is canceling their baseball game today.
Okay.
Bethel. No, they're good. This is exhilarating radio and
yeah, it kind of is.
It is great that you have access to all this stuff though, because I remember covering games. 10 years ago, we didn't know a game was canceled sometimes till we showed up.
Yeah. There was one that you and I went to. I'm pretty sure. Didn't we do a Rye Harrison game and a Harrison game, and we pulled into the parking lot, and we're looking around. There's nobody at the school.
Yeah, it was Harrison.
Yeah, it was Harrison. I remember that. We pulled into. They played at an elementary school on Harrison Avenue, and we pulled into the parking lot, and we're looking, going, but it's not raining. Why is it canceled? And sure enough, you discovered that certain roads had some flooding, and it was the crazy things we went through back then. And I guess even now, we can still kind of miss a little bit of information here and there, but back then, there really was much more. I remember driving to Ridgefield for a basketball game and knowing nothing until I got there that it had been canceled.
Yeah, just having Twitter alone makes such a huge difference with everything, and it's just amazing. Even seeing all the stuff you have in the studio now, how much the technology has changed over the last 10 years.
Yeah, just where we were not all that long ago. Pretty amazing.
Staples versus Trinity boys tennis postponed.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh no, keep talking. I'm good.
NFL schedules came out last night. Did you have a chance to look at them? I know you're still a big Giants fan.
Yeah, I saw a little bit. I mean, we kind of know who the opponents are going to be for a while, so I don't get too worked up over the exact scheduling.
Does working in the NFL kind of diminish your love of a particular team, especially when you worked for the Lions? Does that kind of, and I remember the days of you being such a big Giants fan, does that diminish it at all?
I mean, it made me pull for the Lions a little bit more, absolutely. I don't know if it diminishes so much as it makes me appreciate what's going on elsewhere a lot more. like watching guys like Cam Chancellor and Bobby Wagner play for Seattle, you know, you get to see those guys every single day on coaching tape, and it just makes you. So I guess it does kind of pull you away a little bit because it makes you appreciate what's going on elsewhere in the league so much more. Watching a guy like Navarro Bowman in San Francisco, and you know, being lucky enough to be able to see those guys every single week, it makes you just appreciate the rest of the league, and it kind of takes away, I guess, a little bit from your hatred of some other teams as well. But
I gotta ask, just because I like to torture myself. As a Buccaneers executive, if you were put in that position, would you go anywhere near Jameis Winston?
I've watched a lot of Winston and Mariota on coaching tape.
Sure. And
obviously the off the field stuff with Winston is troubling, but watching him on tape, I didn't expect to like him. He's a pretty phenomenal prospect. I mean, the way he can anticipate his pocket presence, the way he can have traffic around him and keep his eyes on his progression and navigate around that, it's pretty special. He's the best. I'm not saying he's not a Luck level prospect,
right,
but he's the best quarterback prospect I've seen since Luck.
Is he worth the risk?
Honestly, I think so.
Wow. Okay.
Because you don't see many quarterbacks come out that can run a pro style offense the way that he can. And especially, as I said, that pocket presence is something that is especially rare, especially with a lot of these spread offenses. They get the ball out of the quarterback's hand so fast.
Sure.
And like watching Mariota, anytime there's any type of traffic around him, he melts.
And part C to my question, would you trade your pick for maybe 2-3 solid picks?
I would definitely think about it. I would. I've heard a lot of rumors about Phillip Rivers. Yep. I don't know how true that is. If that deal comes up, I make that trade in a heartbeat because Phillip Rivers gets a lot of heat, but he's a fantastic quarterback.
I think so too.
I agree.
He's a top 6-7 quarterback in the league, and sometimes on a given day he can be the best quarterback on the field.
My feeling when it comes to Rivers is you would love him if he was your quarterback.
Sure.
But as an opponent, he's mouthy and he'll drive you crazy. But if he's on your team,
and he's one of those guys that I mentioned, that really just watching him day in and day out, you really appreciate a guy like that a lot.
Oh, without question.
Because his toughness in the pocket. I mean, he does things that nobody else can do, especially as far as staying in the pocket, taking hits. He's one of the toughest guys out there.
239. What were you going to say?
No, I'm trying to think what I would do if I was Tampa Bay's general manager.
I just don't know how many people necessarily want that number one pick, though. That's the other thing.
That's the big one too. I'm kind of concerned about the. It's not that good. It's not a surefire lockdown number one. Blah blah blah.
Exactly.
I mean, and as a Bucs fan, trust me, I know we could. There's a lot we could probably do.
Yeah.
To improve our team. So not just with quarterbacks. So, you know.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a break. 2:39. Jeff Brameyer of Darien coming up, followed by Dave Stewart as we continue for a Wednesday Nutmeg Sports on HANradio.com and streaming live on the Hersom Acorn Network.
Spring is finally in the air, and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Did you know that taking dance lessons is a great date night idea? Arthur Murray Grand Ballroom of Greenwich is a fabulous place to learn to dance and meet new people. Located at 6 Lewis Street, our studio is staffed with professional instructors ready to teach you salsa, waltz, rumba, hustle, tango. There's a dance for every season. And we are rated #1 on the Knot.com. We are the wedding dance specialists. Take advantage of our new student offer, only $49. Call 203-769-1800. Visit us online at arthurmurraygreenwich.com.
This year, 3,000 Connecticut women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. HRSA Acorn is a proud sponsor of the Komen Connecticut Race for the Cure. Help make an impact in the local fight against breast cancer by joining us on May 9th in Westport at Sherwood Island. With your help, Komen Connecticut invests in local breast cancer programs, helping local women beat breast cancer. Visit KomenCT.org to register, volunteer, or donate today. We race for Connecticut. Why will you race?
Does advertising on HANradio.com work? Just ask Coastal Orthopedics. They ran spots with us, and within 24 hours they had 21 walk-ins and 8 calls to their new immediate care center. To advertise on HANradio.com, call 203-417-5199 and ask for Marianne Hersom.
You're listening to HRSA Acorn Radio.
241 Nutmeg Sports. Rob, Paul, Matt with you at 203-442-9055, and we're happy to bring to the program the head coach of the Darien boys lacrosse team, Jeff Braymeyer. Coach, how are you? And we were can kind of hear you, Coach. Not a great connection.
The connections at self.
Oh, boy. Well, Paul, let's bring you in.
Hi.
Can you hear us, Coach?
I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Okay, you're there. Slightly. First of all, how's your team? Tell us about them.
It's fine. In the long season, I hope we're doing fine. You take the good with the bad as you start off the season, but we've had all pretty good right now with big wins over Niskayuna and big win over Manhasset on the weekend, and now we got a big game coming up tomorrow against the Tigers in Ridgefield. So that's kind of what you like. You like to challenge yourself at least once a week, and I think our schedule does that. So we're certainly have no rest for the weary anytime soon.
What do you think you guys need to do to be successful against Ridgefield?
Well, you got to keep their scoring minimize under control. Bias and Dearth and Dunn and Alexander. Those are 4 pretty proficient offensive players, and they work well together. So, you gotta keep them in check. Set them down, but you can't put them off. So, that's the first thing. Then you got to be able to do enough on your own side. Which sometimes, depending on the issue, they've been playing a lot of it. They go back to the zone. You have to be ready for. For what to do.
Now, it's a good Ridgefield team that we saw yesterday, in fact, against Greenwich. And Greenwich looks like they've got some things worked out as well. New Canaan's right there in the mix. I mean, the FCAC, once again, has great lacrosse, Coach.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, I think the country has great lacrosse. And, we just happen to be in a pretty good hotbed for it. A lot of support for the sport. And, a lot of kids playing a lot of lacrosse year round, in different venues that helps them take their game to a higher level. So, it's a long way from 30 years ago we started. There was only a couple of real good programs. We weren't one of them. But now there's in the FCAC alone, 5 to 7 high quality programs. And then you get the private school sector around. So Connecticut's grown, and obviously we like to go outside of Connecticut and with some great teams there. So it's the nature of our sport. It's an exciting time.
And when you look at your team, what makes your team this year so strong? Is it the offense? Is it the defense? Is it your goaltending? What makes you guys as strong as you think you are?
I think the strength is that strength in numbers. Depth is you have tremendous athleticism. I don't think we have a weakness. I don't think we're superior in any one area, though. We've obviously played a tremendous defensive game against Manhasset. Well, Niskayuna as well, and holding them to the lowest score they've had in years. So, I think one strength is definitely our ability to have some pretty good lock defensive players and good team defense. Our young Billy Ryan Cornell's a sophomore, 5 days underneath the star. He's handling the pressure so far. The offense, it's not talent, a lot of, a lot of time. And you deal with some draft-loaded players to figure out how to also good issues season, and we get it.
Coach, we're really struggling to hear you at this point, unfortunately, so we'd love to have you back on again, and just we're grateful for a couple of minutes, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, no, stop. Here.
No.
That's something funny practice in the high school is a terrible place to happen. We want to do it. We're going to have you on Talk Connecticut Cross.
Well, we'll have you on again for sure, and we're grateful for a few minutes. Thanks so much, Coach.
All right.
All right. That's Coach Jeff Braymeyer of Darien, who just unfortunately we had just a bad connection. Darien is not known for its cell phone service, needless to say. We've been able to do some games from there, but it can often be a bit of a tough run for sure. 2:47 on Nutmeg Sports. We'll pause for a minute. Turn my own microphone down there. We'll pause for a minute. We'll come back as we begin to put a wrap on the week as we continue. 2:47 here on Nutmeg Sports on HANradio.com.
Spring is finally in the air, and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Car buying? Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram with one of the largest inventories of new 2- and 4-door Wranglers. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Browse our websites, scapchryslerjeep.com or scapdodge.net to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck you've been looking for. Just 2 miles from both I-95 or the Merritt Parkway exit 44. Save thousands at the award season event. Now through April 30th.
Located in the heart of picturesque downtown Ridgefield at 13 Governor Street, Colby's is the area's premier retailer for blinds, shades, shutters, and draperies, and is one of the select few Hunter Douglas Gallery dealers. A family-owned and operated company, Colby's experienced staff will work with you in choosing the best treatments for your home or office and offer free measuring and expert installation. Colby's also carries an extensive line of decorative fabrics including Schumacher, Durley, Tebow, and more. Or browse over 400 books in our wallpaper library from famous designers such as Stroheim, Schumacher, Ralph Lauren, Tebow, and York. Take advantage of our Fashion in Motion savings event with savings and rebates on Hunter Douglas shades with Power Rise technology. Colby's of Ridgefield. We are committed to your complete satisfaction. 203-438-8531.
It's Lots of Characters, specializing in children's birthday parties with your child's favorite characters. When you want to party hardy, when you need to celebrate, call us, we won't be late. We help create lasting memories for you and your child on their special day. Call us at 203-590-1791 or visit our website at lotsofcharacters.org for more information and to see our party packages. Lots of Characters, 203-590-1791 or online at lotsofcharacters.org.
Hersom Acorn and HANradio.com.
Back with you on Nutmeg Sports. It's 2:51 with Paul Silverfarb, Matt Hamilton. I'm Rob Adams, and now we turn things around to talking about the FCAC in terms of overall sports. And calling from a landline somewhere is the one and only Dave Stewart. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. Getting ready for a little bit of rainstorm, I think.
Yeah, and it sounds like we're starting to lose some games already.
Yeah. There's a bunch that have been canceled. I was planning on going to West Hill New Canaan baseball this afternoon, but I have a feeling that that's going to be a washout. Also, it really looks like it's going to be real intense for a short period of time, but right in the middle of everything. So there's a lot of postponements already. Baseball, softball, tennis, golf and lacrosse are still on, but they kind of gut it out,
And speaking of your teams, your lacrosse team at New Canaan, I mean, they're off to a very good start. Their only blemish so far is a 9-7 loss to a very talented Brunswick team. How do you think the team's looking this year?
Oh, they're very deep. They look great. I saw that Brunswick game last week, and there was a really bad run where they kind of had a breakdown. They actually jumped out to a 3-0 lead against Brunswick and looked great. And then Brunswick started scoring, and they got on a roll, and I believe it was 8 straight goals at one point. And then it looked like it was just going to be a blowout, and it's somebody flipped the switch on, and New Canaan started coming back. They got to within 1 goal and ended up losing 9-7. But it's kind of a gut check game. It's one of those ones where you have your back to the wall, you end up losing, but there's lots of positives you can take out of that. And I think, talking to Coach Chip Buzzio after the game, and he was kind of like, we're disappointed that we got the loss, but when you're playing a great lacrosse game like that against a great team in Brunswick, and you do good things, you got to feel good about yourself. And I think New Canaan did after that. But they're a very deep team this year. They have everything.
We had Jeff Braymeyer on a few minutes ago from clearly not great cell phone service. So I'll ask you kind of where do the Blue Wave fit in terms of the overall scene for lacrosse and boys lacrosse around the FCAC? Is it Darien and New Canaan? Are they the two? Is it Ridgefield, Greenwich? I mean, where do the Blue Wave fit in that whole pack?
I look at it could be any of those teams that you just mentioned there. I mean, it depends on who shows up on a given day. I do think, with any season, given their history and given what they've done and what they accomplished last year, you always have to say Darien is the lead horse in this case, and or the lead dog. And until somebody beats them, I think they're the team to beat, so to speak. And then because they just have that tradition, they have that history, and they're able to. They seem to be even in years when maybe somebody else is stealing a little bit of the headlines from them, they still seem to be able to find a way to win, and they're always there at the end of the year. And Jeff Braymeyer's done a great job building that program, because there was, if you go back a ways, they were really, it was Wilton, New Canaan, and then everybody else, and Darien was kind of like in that middle ground with Greenwich and Ridgefield, where they were like battling for the third spot behind them, and it's obviously it's evened out a lot now over the years, but Darien has taken on that position of being the standard bearer for the league and for the state, and until somebody dethrones them, they're the team. They're the team. They're at the top. And but that being said, the league is really deep right now. It was really deep last year, and there's a lot of good lacrosse going on here, and they're playing very good teams from out of state. New Canaan beat Ridgewood yesterday, 14-6 down in New Jersey. They played them a few years. They have beaten them 3 years in a row. The last couple of years, I think it was 1 goal and then 2 goals, so they're very close games. But yesterday, New Canaan just really handled them. So I think that says a lot about what they have going for them. And then, of course, the Greenwich Ridgefield game that you guys were there for, it doesn't get closer than that. So that, and I think that's a good example of what the league has.
And let's switch it over to baseball for a little bit, because yesterday we had was it yesterday or was it 2 days ago? 2 days ago, I think. No, yesterday. We had a very good game between.
Everything was washed out. On
that's
Monday.
right. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything is that whole washed out thing is kind of screwing with me a little bit.
Well, it's messed up. It's really compacted the schedule this week too, because there's going to be a lot of teams going Thursday and Friday, and
Right.
some of even like New Canaan had its game with Norwalk pushed to next Tuesday, which I
Right.
think is actually an advantage for Norwalk because Norwalk was making that trip back from Cooperstown the night before. So that actually worked in Norwalk's favor. I think New Canaan could have taken advantage of maybe the fact that they're tired and they have
Right.
a long trip and all that, but that's by the board.
Now, what do you make of Ward's big victory over Staples? Ward is now 7-0, 8-0, 5-0, 6-0 in the conference now, or something like that, and they are looking really, really strong this year.
They look strong. Darien looks strong. New Canaan. I've seen them play a few times. They look strong. I mean, David Giusti has been just phenomenal in his 2 starts. Baseball, I've said it before, baseball's wide open. I think, the fact that Ward, any team is able to go, I think Ward is 7-0 overall right now, 5-0 in the league, and the fact that any team's able to run off 7, 8, 9 in a row in a league where, you need pitching to do that. First of all, you need to be consistent from day to day, and it's difficult to do that at any level, let alone the high school level where there's so much extra stuff going on. And you got to hand it to Ward. I mean, 7-0 is nothing to sneeze at. The thing is with baseball, it's one of those sports where you get hot, and the spring season's so compacted that you get hot for a short period of time, and the whole world can change for you. So if they run over a 5-game streak where they say go 2-3 or something like that, or even 3-2, all of a sudden now they're back in the pack with everybody else, and you got to wait to see what's going on. But hats off to them so far, and that win over Staples is a huge one. That'll go a long way. They actually have New Canaan tomorrow, so that's another one that's going to be a key for both teams. To kind of assert themselves. That's up at Ward at 4:00, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah, there's no doubt we have seen some Greenwich teams, for instance, Paul. You and I have seen some teams that have just dominated and either been undefeated or 1 or 2 losses get into the playoffs, and you run into a good pitcher, things happen.
That undefeated team for Greenwich High that they had in the regular season lost in the FCX championship game, and then they played, I think it was Amity in the 2nd or 3rd round. I mean, they got no hit. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
They ran into a hot pitcher. You can't fault anybody. The pitcher was on and threw a no-no. So hats off to Amity.
The year New Canaan won the FCX championship when they had Kurt Casale was a junior, and they won the FCX championship. They were on fire, and they ran into I forget the team, but it was an upstate team that had a great pitcher that threw hard. Came down to Mead Park, beat them 6-0. I think New Canaan got 3 hits, and season's over for them. That team went on to the 2nd round, either the next day or 2 days later. They didn't have another pitcher after that guy, and they got bombed, and that was it. They were out. So that type of thing happens, and if you run into the wrong guy, you're done. And so baseball's a long season. Baseball, I think, is more kind of all over the place, so to speak, in terms of what the scores will be like. The dominating team is a slight favorite, not necessarily a big favorite, and we'll see what happens.
2:59 as we get ready to wrap up the show. Dave, what about on the girls' side? Can't ignore the softball teams or the girls lacrosse teams. What do you see going on around there?
Well, it's been some interesting stuff going on, especially in girls lacrosse. I saw New Canaan. I was at the New Canaan Wilton game, and those are 2 teams that have met in the FCI or in the CIAC Class M finals the last few years, last 3 years, in fact. And New Canaan really was impressive. They went up 8-1, scored the first 7 goals, went up 8-1 at halftime, and Wilton struggled. They did get back into it in the second half. They scored the first 3 goals, but New Canaan ended up winning that game 12-6. Wilton's already had a couple of losses in the league. They lost to Greenwich also, which is another one of the contenders. So. That's been some interesting stuff. Wilton will be there at the end of the year, no doubt. They're too tough not to be. Darien's unbeaten in the league. New Canaan's unbeaten in the league. Greenwich is unbeaten in the league. Those teams are all going to play each other, so we'll learn more as that's going on. But it's still really the big four, as they've said. There's really, there's teams like Ridgefield, Ward, Staples all have 1 loss, but I don't necessarily think that they're at that level where they could sneak up and bite one of those teams. You never know. You got to play the games, but I think it's going to be between those four again.
Just about time to wrap it up. Dave, a final thought as we get ready to say goodbye.
Well, we got to get a shout-out to Max Pacioretty and the Montreal Canadiens. They're going for a sweep tonight of the Ottawa Senators. Max, of course, is from New Canaan. So, we'll see how that goes. Ottawa was a hot team coming into the NHL playoffs, and Montreal and Pacioretty was questionable for the first game because he had been knocked out with what they were calling an upper body injury. Might have been a concussion, but I suppose your head's part of your upper body. But they've looked good, so they're going for it tonight. So, kind of keep an eye on that.
Sounds good, Dave. We'll do it again in a couple of days.
Well, we'll do it. I'm looking forward to New Canaan playing Greenwich and boys lacrosse too on Saturday, which I believe we're doing on video.
Yes, we are. We've got it on radio and video, and you'll be a part of it.
It'll be a fun game. Should be a good one.
All right, Dave. Thanks so much. Appreciate the time.
Take care, Dave.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Paul.
All right, see ya. That is, of course, the great Dave Stewart. As we begin to wrap up the show, we brought up hockey right there at the end. Let's go Rangers, dare we say?
I'm excited. I'm excited for tonight. After seeing the adjustments that Vigneault made in Game 3, the Rangers' ability to do that cross corner dump and the shots off the end boards, clearing up the shooting lanes a little bit for him. I don't know if Pittsburgh's really gonna have an answer anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure they will either. You feel differently.
No, I feel kind of the same. I'm a little more nervous and a little more skeptical than what you sound in, the last 5 minutes when you're in a 1-0 or 2-1 game. I'm still going to be biting my fingernails to the point where I'm at one of my knuckles. But, what's the best way to, I'm cautiously confident, I guess.
My biggest thing is Fleury has played out of his mind. You have to give him a lot of credit how well he's played.
He turned it up.
Yeah, I mean, that game the other night could have been, 3-0 going into the third period, and if it was, that ending doesn't become near as nerve-wracking.
Exactly. You got to give him credit because the Rangers were peppering him. I mean, they were trying everything to get that third goal, and they just couldn't get it done. And then the Penguins come back and get it within one, and oh boy.
Yeah, but you got to think at some point. I mean, we've seen the first round Fleury meltdowns are almost an annual event.
Yes,
so.
I'm looking forward to maybe one. Tonight would be nice.
You gonna come back?
Absolutely, I loved it.
You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
You and I will talk about it off the air, but he can come back anytime.
Perfect.
Part of the family.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Anytime, Matt. Thank you. Thanks to Matt Hamilton, to Dave Stewart, Jeff Braymeyer. We tried for a couple of minutes, and we'll have him back on. And thank you, good sir. You're a fine person.
I try.
I know you do.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. 10th of the time. Thanks to Mario and Josh back behind us, Tracy as well. Thanks to all of them for helping us put the show together, and that'll do it for Nutmeg Sports. For all these guys, for Paul Silverfarb, I'm Rob Adams. We'll talk to you on Saturday. We'll have lacrosse. We also have coffee break starting your day tomorrow. Don't forget about Stir Crazy. Thanks to John Kovach for producing as well. Have a good night, everyone. So long.
Yabba dabba dabba, yabba dabba 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 doo. Yabba dabba 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 doo.
Hersom Acorn and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in Southwest